I don't know what else I can do. I mean,
Oh, isn't it? Now people-
oh, there we go. Okay. I guess I just had to restart it for like the fourth time. Okay. Could you mute yourself, please, Duana?
So those are the people that are joining us, correct?
Yep. Okay, so it's working.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Do you want me to mute it back? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If you would please mute it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, clerk. Update from counselors on elected essential training. The two counselors that have not gone to elected essential trainings are not present, so I will ask for an update on their training at our Counselor Cook.
Do they actually have to attend one or find a way to show attendance on it? Or, you know, I thought we had the little drives. What do they have to actually be attend something like that? Will they have to be?
As far as the drives, I don't know if the drives have been given to the three councils or not. But
That will depend on whether or not council decides to pass this letter with CIS. And that is specific training where you do need certification of attendance.
I know one counselor got the drive.
But it's not a substitute. That's not the training. Those are just slides.
Yeah, but it's basically.
It's not.
That's how I was told that like essentials that drive covered the same information. It wasn't the actual meeting that we did, but it covered the same information.
They're the slides, but you don't have the presenter giving you the information with the slides, so it is different.
Okay.
In that if you go and watch the YouTube videos or you go onto CIS website where you get a certification, it will walk you through that video. It's not like you're just looking at slides because you wouldn't know what information goes with those slides if you didn't attend.
Okay, moving on, our last item under old business is FY 2022-23 through 26, 48,000 plus for the audit discussion.
You asked for that to be on there.
My question is how are we going to fund these audits? People come up with ideas, but they don't follow through with.
Yeah, this is actually something that Krista brought forward was for the audit to Acuity.
The acuity audit, right?
It's just a regular.
We're going with acuity to do in place of the financial review.
Instead of the financial review and Acuity, we agreed, I thought at the meeting that we would no longer use Tab 1. And McLean Platt in the future would be using Acuity.
Is that?
So I brought Acuity to you as an option for a financial review company. You wanted to do an audit, which is different than your financial review, and it is double or even maybe 3 times as much as a financial review. So you elected for 3 years of an audit, not a financial review. So that's above and beyond what we are required to do.
So would it be a good idea to change the audit to to allow them to do the financial reviews for those 3 years instead of doing the audit? Would that be something that we could do?
The prevailing party would need to have a motion for reconsideration.
And $2,000.
Um, Everybody agreed to that. It was a unanimous vote.
To have a audit for the next 3 years. moving
Correct.
forward, and $16,000 a year. And council approved, I just don't know where the funding's gonna come from. Because your financial reviews are usually 8 to 10,000. Which we budget for every year, but I don't know where we're gonna pull an extra $8 to $10,000 for that purpose. That's my concern.
I understand.
It's your guys' decision what you want to do. It's without collecting cans or cutting people's hours or things like that. I don't know where. Councilor Purple Bennett.
I would like. Go back and accept the review.
Councilor Purple Bennett, Councilor Ferguson.
I second that motion.
Councilor Purple Bennett has made a motion to rescind the audit for 3 years at $16,000. Councilor Ferguson seconded. Open for discussion.
As we've gone through the last,
Councilor Purple Bennett.
yeah, as we've gone through the last several years with just having financial reviews, and there's never been anything stated. There was a need for an audit or thought of his appropriations of funds. I think maybe until that thing happens, or our threshold becomes a point where we spend more money, and so it automatically triggers something like that. I think we should go ahead and stay where we're at and put our money, extra monies either towards our streets or other services that we need here.
Right, and what's the threshold for an audit? 500,000?
I'm sorry, I don't have that, but it's federal funds are one amount and regular. We've never hit the threshold. But once you spend that, the amount of FEMA funds we're going to spend, you will have to do that. And that may be just a 1 year. Now you do the audit
So like,
and revert back to your financial.
like Pat said, when our FEMA project, most likely we're gonna expend enough money, which will automatically trigger an audit, and then we'll have to go through that hurdle at that time, which will be next. We and Council Burger had a point there that all of our financial reviews have come back in order. There's been no discrepancies noted for that would cause any concern. And until we have a stronger way to generate revenue, that's a big hit for us, I think, for twice as much. I mean, I guess it would be doable, but I just don't see where the money's coming from. We have other items that should be addressed, but it's at your guys' discretion. So, Councilor Cook, you have your hand up?
I think the federal, like grant money and all that, I think that limit is 250,000. You go over 250,000, automatically have.
Okay, well, if it does come down to it, but I don't think we're gonna be into that. Well, not this budget year, and probably maybe till end of next budget year. Or the upcoming budget year, so. Between now and July 1st, I don't see FEMA coming into it. Any further discussion? Councilor Perry?
Give us a heads up on that. when they not-
Yeah.
I mean, say.
Yeah.
Then we would be able to go ahead and plan appropriately in the budget cycles. To be
Yes.
able to hopefully fund that, or we're gonna be having spaghetti feeds and.
I just want to make the note that the most important part is getting your review back on time and not in March and April. That was really the seller for Acuity for me.
So upon that, are we still gonna go QD for the
Financial review. I didn't sign the contract because I wanted to be sure that we are all on the same page.
Make sure. that-
But-
And for discussion. Councilor Burbank.
Yay.
Councilor Capell.
Aye.
Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook. Thank you, council. Council is approved, 4 ayes, 2 absent. To rescind the Acuity audit at cost 48,000. Whole business. Moving forward, presentation from Business Oregon. Hey, Ryan DeGraw.
Thank you. I want to thank the council for having me and thank Mayor Tripp and Krista for inviting me down. My name is Ryan DeGroff. I work for Business Oregon. That is the state's economic development agency. I'm a regional development officer that covers 4 counties here in Eastern Oregon. I cover Umatilla, Morrow, Gillum, and Wheeler counties. Based in Pendleton, and happy to come down as frequently as y'all would need if we've got projects that we can help with. So with that, I wanted to just share a little bit about some of our programs. I usually tell folks that Business Oregon kind of has 2 buckets of work that we work in. One bucket is infrastructure development. So we work with cities and counties and ports when they've got water or wastewater, roads, bridges, broadband, those types of projects. We've got grant and loan programs that can help with that. And then the other half of what we do is business development. So if there are companies that are looking to grow or relocate, we sometimes have programs that can help with that as well. The caveat there with business development is that, most of our programs are targeted at companies that provide goods or services for which there is demand outside of states. So the goal there is to get money from outside of Oregon into Oregon. And that kind of translates, unfortunately, into not always having programs that can help Main Street businesses, but there are sometimes exceptions to that. I was telling Mayor Tripp here the other day, and I think he's pretty familiar with the project that we were able to help the Royal Stag get going up in Fossil after the dig-in closed because that town had no restaurants at that point, and that was a pretty critical project for the community. So there are exceptions to the rule, but again, generally, we're looking at or working with manufacturers and such that make items for export. So really wanted to speak about our infrastructure programs, and we've got an awful lot of them. Today, I'm just going to kind of go over the ones that are most likely to be able to help in a community like Mitchell. And please feel free to interrupt at any time if you have questions. I'll go through this and kind of hit some of the high points for each program, and then talk about maybe the future here in Mitchell and the projects I know that are on your horizon and they'll help there. So the first program we have is called our Special Public Works Fund. That is kind of our bread and butter program, the one that gets tapped most frequently because it's applicable to almost any kind of infrastructure project. It's loan only, unfortunately, and has low interest rates, and typically maximum grant loan amount is about $10 million. Applications are accepted at any time. There are a couple of small grants that can come through this program, and a good example of that is our FEMA match money. So just, I think, at the end of last week or maybe early this week, the city of Mitchell got notice that Business Oregon is providing the 25% local match requirement that y'all need to have to get your FEMA. So that's one of the areas that we can help. Special Public Works Fund also has some levy grants that may be of interest at some point, even though I know you don't have any levies here. I don't think you do. This is a change to the program. In the past, the levy program was really restricted to actual Army Corps of Engineers certified levies. And there are a few of those in Eastern Oregon, but not as many as on the west side. So we didn't get a lot of that money up here. But they changed some of the program rules, and it can be for almost any kind of flood control activity. So if you need to do some stream bank restoration or have areas, where flooding is common, even if it's not an Army Corps certified levy, if you want to do some work there to prevent flooding in the future, we may be able to provide some grant funds there. So good example of that up in Morrow County and Heppner. I was able to get a grant there. They weren't building a levee, but they had an old mill site that they wanted to redevelopment that was in a floodplain. And instead of building levees, they just widened out the floodway of the creek so that if the creek gets high, the water has a place to spread out without flooding the industrial site. So not a levy, but it was a program or a project that qualified, and we were able to get them some money to help with that. Those grants can be up to $2 million, can't exceed 80% of the project cost. And I will tell you that that's subject to availability of funds. So the way a lot of these state funds work is the legislature gives us money for a particular biennium, and we spend it down and we hope they give us more the next time. It's kind of where we're at with that levy program right now. It's not completely empty, but we've spent quite a bit of it. If there are projects in Mitchell that y'all would like to look at for that program, though, certainly would like to have a conversation and see if we could scare up a few dollars there for you. So the second program I'll talk to you about is called our Water and Wastewater Financing Program. This is for projects that are needed to achieve or maintain compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act or the Clean Water Act. So that is a pretty significant side rail sometimes. So if you've got perfectly clean, healthy water, it may not necessarily be the right program to help out. If you've got particulate in the water, or if you find yourself out of compliance periodically, or if the water supply is inconsistent or needs to be improved, we might be able to do that, but it'll typically require a letter from the Oregon Health Authority, which regulates the water systems, to let us know that it's needed to achieve that compliance. I noted that's also for wastewater, although I don't think your community. Up to 50% of that can be grant, maximum of $750,000. That depends on the community's median household income. It's fairly low here in Mitchell, so I'm pretty confident that we get
penalize the people with that bring the possibility.
Not if you were compliant anyway, but I've got other programs that we'll get to that I think could help.
Don't forget.
Sorry,
Okay, you said, they did a stream bank restoration. Would that apply for like? We could call it a stream or a ditch or something that has erosion problems that might undermine a road or something. Would that apply?
yes,
Because we do have that issue coming up.
that's something I think we could fit within that program.
Are you referring to down here by the bridge or?
No, on High Street, that ditch on the side of High Street,
Oh, that.
you have the dirt already coming underneath the,
That's not a waterway. She's
That's
saying
the
like,
waterway.
Oh,
like
okay.
it's not an actual water, it's where water runs.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It's-
runoff
it's
probably
our-
wouldn't
It's the
qualify.
Mitchell
Okay.
gutter system.
Let's see, so this program, the next one I'll talk about, to be eligible, one of the requirements is that, and this is gonna get real technical, but basically you've got to have water rates set at a level, where the community will be able to maintain their system going forward. So I've seen communities get tripped up here a little bit before, they want to do good by their citizens and keep rates really low, which is noble. But if you're not generating enough revenue to maintain your system, then that can be a problem too. So when it comes time to look at the project, we have financial folks that will do some analysis and we'll need to make sure that the rates are at an appropriate level to get that grant money.
He said, like, that's where we had the rates and rates 8 or 10 years ago, was to get closer to compliance, but if you could send us those
Yeah,
requirements now to update us where we're at, because we may need 10 years.
okay, no problem.
That'd be great.
This program also has some technical assistance grants. You could get up to $20,000 to do studies. I'm not sure if the grant the city has now is through this program or the next one we're talking about. I think it's the next one, but they both have $20,000 grants if you've got water system studies, for example, that you need to do. And I know the city is engaged in that right now. So the next program is called the Safe Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund. It's pretty similar to the last one we talked about. It's federal dollars though, rather than state dollars. It's not restricted to projects, that are needed for compliance like the last one was, but it's really for drinking water projects. So, perfect fit for what you folks are trying to do here in Mitchell. We've had folks wonder if they could use it for industrial purposes, for example, and that would work. It's got to be for drinking water. This one, up to 50% can be grants, a maximum of $650,000. So pretty substantial grant would be available there. The city had a good project. Again, the affordability rates are something that we'll need to look at to make sure that the city's water rates can maintain the system. This one, because it's federal money, the project will probably get a little more expensive. You're required to follow Davis-Bacon rules, prevailing wages. So if you've got, local contractors who are doing the work, they'll end up paying higher wages essentially to their workers, making the project a bit more expensive. There are also requirements around using American iron and steel. If you're, buying pipe, for example, which can sometimes make projects more expensive as well. This particular program, the others I've talked about, we take applications anytime. And this one being federal dollars, we accept applications twice a year. So once in March and once in September. So as you guys wrap up your engineering study on the water system and working with your engineer, we'll want to make sure that we've kind of got those dates in our head moving forward so that we can time the request at the right time. We have a program called the Brownfield programs, and this is for assessment and cleanup of environmental contamination on real property, but only if the hope is to redevelop it, right? So we see this a lot in some of these small towns. If there was an old mill site, for example, there's sometimes contamination there that makes it difficult to use that property for other uses in the future. And sometimes we can help assess that and get some cleanup done to get the property back to where, you know, some other business or some other productive use could be used there. An important note is that it can be real or perceived contamination. So even if everyone's pretty sure it's clean, but you've got a buyer who's worried that there might be contamination there, that perception would trigger us to be able to give you some grant money there to assess the property. Community Development Block Grant, I think, is another one that would be a really good fit for the city of Mitchell. These are federal funds that come from the Housing and Urban Development Agency, and Business Oregon administers those within the state on behalf of the federal government for pretty much every part of the state except for the metro area. So all of our rural areas, Business Oregon runs this program. These are dollars that are really specifically targeted at communities or individuals that have low to moderate income. That is a really obscure calculation, how they calculate low to moderate income. I've looked at the tables, and the short answer is that Mitchell qualifies, which is good news for you. For public works projects, you can get grants of up to $2.5 million for public facilities, meaning, you know, like buildings or structures, $1.5 million. And then there are also some housing rehab grants that can be applied for the community. And those have to be owner occupied homes. So if you've got low income folks, I've seen some examples, for example, where somebody's house needed a new roof, the house would be condemned and they can't afford to put a new roof on it. There are grants that could help folks with that. Or if their sewer line for some reason or septic system has failed. Yes, ma'am.
So we would apply for that money and then distribute these funds to the folks here, or do they apply directly to you?
You're on my next point.
Okay,
So the public works and the public facilities grants, the community can apply for those directly. The housing rehab grants are typically administered through a third-party organization that has some expertise there. So there are multiple options. I know in this region, the Greater Eastern Oregon Development Corporation administers these grants in Morrow and Umatilla counties. I don't think anybody is taking advantage of these in Gillum or Wheeler counties at this time that I'm aware of. And in prior conversations with GEODC, they have said that they'd be interested in doing the work for Mitchell or Wheeler County if there's a desire there. But there are other options too, if you'd prefer to work with someone else. Whether it's the housing rehab or the infrastructure programs, though, you're really pretty strongly encouraged to work with a consultant of some kind to help navigate the federal requirements. Federal money, as you may know, is pretty notoriously covered with red tape. There's a lot of hoops that have to be jumped through, and there are consultants out there that really know this program like the back of their hand. And the nice thing is that the grant can help pay for their time. So you're not out of pocket paying a consultant to run this grant for you. The grant itself will pay for their time. The other nice.
With the infrastructure, when you're talking about there, is that matching grant or is that a full grant for the matching?
The public facilities or,
Yeah, there's no mention. The other nice thing about the public works and the public facilities grants is that you can kind of go to the well twice. So if you've got a really big project, you can come and apply for money that will pay for the planning and the engineering, which can sometimes be pretty expensive itself. And then you can come back at a future application and apply for funds to do the actual construction. So that's a program I think that'd be a really good fit for the community. Again, with federal money, there's the Davis-Bacon requirements. There's a lot of environmental reviews, want to make sure you don't have endangered species or whatever that you're paving over.
would that be something appropriate to have maybe if it's for the whole county, one place where this organization or others could come in and help people with the information or the grants and that, or is it something really that just has to be done online, email and phone calls?
Are you talking about the housing rehab grant?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the housing rehab grant, it typically is kind of done on a countywide basis, yeah.
And it's something that you could do in person. So let's say the lay person could come in and say, I would like help with this grant. Is it something like that, or is it really that they have to email back and forth and submit documents kind of thing?
I don't know that there's a requirement that email be done. I understand that, some of these rural areas don't have broadband access, for example. You probably have some residents who don't have any kind of internet access. So I don't think that expectation is there. If there's folks who need help, I'm sure staff at GEODC or whoever is administering it for you would be happy to come down and help as much as they can. This is another one where the applications are only accepted a couple of times a year. Those are in March and August each year. The next service, I guess, that I wanted to mention is Business Oregon. When you've got large infrastructure projects, we'll convene what we call a one-stop. And what that is essentially when you've got a project scope and a project budget and you know what you want to do, rather than you having to go shop around to all the state and federal agencies to see where you're going to get the most grants or the best interest rate, we can bring all of the funding agencies together to review your project at the same time. It's a pretty interesting meeting, so I don't run USDA programs, for example, but USDA has programs that can help with water systems. And so there would be a USDA representative in the room. You had a wastewater project, we'd probably have DEQ in the room because they have some programs that can help with wastewater. But the point is that everybody gets to look at your project and go around the room. And, Business Oregon might have 3 or 4 that are eligible. And we would run through a scenario of how much grants and what the interest rate would be on any remaining loan, et cetera, for program A, program B, program C. USDA would do the same thing. We might look at a couple of blended scenarios if you wanted to get maximum grant from this program and that program. And it all ends up on a spreadsheet that you can take home and the council can deliberate and make decisions on which might be the most beneficial approach for the community. So that's a pretty valuable service, I think, when you can kind of get a one-stop shop for all of the funding. And then the last program I wanted to mention is broadband. Historically, the state of Oregon did not have a lot of money for broadband projects. I think up until the pandemic, we had a total investment statewide of maybe $500,000, which didn't pay for a whole lot other than maybe some planning. But the pandemic made everybody realize how important broadband was for telemedicine, distance learning, even community meetings like you guys are running here. And there is a lot of broadband money coming to the state. So federal government allocated a lot of money nationwide, and out of their, the ARPA Act, Business Oregon is going to get $157 million for broadband projects around the state. And I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's several hundred million more coming in the next year or two. Those should be fairly easy to access when they become available. But one of the things that I'd encourage the community to do, if they are interested in broadband projects, is to do as much planning ahead of time as you can. So I understand very well that paying for engineers can be expensive, but if you can kind of do a needs assessment on where you do or you don't have internet service in town, and how many residents have it or don't have it, who your internet service providers are, do a little planning around that, you'll be in a better position to apply for those grants once they become available. And that was really it. Again, kind of just wanted to give you guys some high level information. All of this is on our website, which is I believe it's oregon4biz.com. But if you just Google Business Oregon, will come up. And I'm communicate with Mayor Tripp and Krista fairly frequently. So if anybody wants more information or to talk about different options, I'm always been.
With the broadband, Judge Morley and they just got us that program. So how would our city benefit from any of that? I mean,
If you have all the broadband you need,
what we have now, I'm 100% comfortable. The speed, the consistency, everything. I mean, you're gonna get your little bump there, bump there. Yep. I think it's a great thing for our community. It's just there, I know there's a lot of spots outside. I don't know where the county is on accessing our type of internet out there, talking around satellite, things like that.
Yeah, and I'm aware Judge Morley and Matt Davis of the county are keeping an eye on broadband programs, and that's really kind of what a lot of counties are doing. Even in a bigger town like Pendleton, we have pretty decent service in town, but you don't have to get too far out of town where there's no service at all. And so that's where a lot of counties are focused on kind of trying to expand service. Obviously, it's not financially feasible to hit every household, but if you can, identify pockets of homes or density of homes where it makes sense, then a lot of folks are pursuing some money to get broadband extended out there.
Like with this area.
We've got. Richmond. Other side of town, works that and shed and possible. One more. Dan set up. We'll get quite a few people there. And Fenway, running fiber. You went up around, you went up to Taylor Basin, come down the spray, come over to Waterman, 26, down the edge. That'll happen this summer. That's true fiber that they're going to do? Fiber. You guys are asking people named fiber. You guys had fiber in town. Right. And shot out and lighted up in puzzle. That line gets here, we'll probably tie this in. Plan all.
New wind law, database. Water. 26, and applying for money to head off that way, work private. And they'll just start that way. Working on a project, huge projects, but we're getting there.
You've been working on it a long time.
Work.
You knew it was a problem for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ryan from anybody?
Well, thank you.
No.
So like if Mitchell got program or idea and plan together for new roads or whatever. Hand things over to you or talk with you and say, where can we get this, that, and the other?
Yes, with roads specifically, though, we probably wouldn't need a one-stop because unfortunately, there's not a lot. Water and wastewater, there's a lot of programs that address that. And I anticipate that once the community is done with the engineering study, and I'm not sure what your final product will be there, but assuming that we at least have a kind of scope of work and budget to look at, that would be a great project to take to a one-stop with Business Oregon and USDA at the very least to see what kind of grant.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan.
You-
Moving on, Lisa Master from CIS is going to do a presentation for our council. Lisa, are you on?
I am. Good evening, everyone. I'll let Business Oregon do their exit. Sounds like you guys have some great opportunities and funding available and a great resource there. So I just kind of wanted to introduce myself to start out with. I actually put together a presentation, but I don't know that I have availability to share it with you. So I'll just kind of go through the information that I put together. My name is Lisa Masters. I'm the Senior Risk Management Consultant for CIS. I'm actually located in Joseph, Oregon. Been in Eastern Oregon for about 13 years now, working with Mitchell and the county there and all the way over to the Idaho border. I currently cover the Rufus down to Morrow, Wasco, Grass Valley, down to Prineville, over to Burns, and over to Jordan Valley. So approximately half of the incorporated state of Oregon. And my goal is at CIS to help prevent claims, to help our members with resources and services that will help prevent claims from happening, reduce the liability of the city or the member that I work with, and help make the city or whoever, whichever member I'm working with as successful as we can be. So I kind of want to give some of you an idea. If you've been to the elected officials training, the League of Oregon Cities, I know that Patrick Priest, who's our executive director, and then Kirk Mylander, who's our legal counsel, had done presentations regarding CIS and who we are and what we do and what services we provide. But I wanted to kind of go over quickly about some things about us. We're not a typical insurance company. We're actually an insurance pool made up of several trusts. And we have a benefits trust, we have a workers' comp trust, and then we have a P&C trust. Just this couple of years ago, we actually rolled all of our business and work comp over to SAFE. And we have a SAFE servicing group that we work with them on to provide services. We do the risk management and the return to work, and then SAFE does the underwriting and the claims management. So to give you a little idea, back in the 80s, the insurance market got very volatile, and there were some smaller cities who weren't able to even stay incorporated because they couldn't afford insurance. So the League of Oregon Cities and Association of Oregon Counties joined together and created our insurance pool. in 1981. And so this provided a inexpensive insurance coverage resource for our members. It also, a lot of insurance companies with the markets that go up and down and the level of risk that they are willing to accept when you're dealing with fire and police and public works. A lot of insurance companies were not wanting to cover those risks. So that's why we're created. And that's all we deal with is cities and counties and local government in Oregon. And we've been in business for about 40 years. We have about 98% of the Oregon cities and about 78% of the Oregon counties that we cover in Oregon. And we provide various lines of coverage from auto, property liability. We could include medical benefits. We have cyber coverage, earthquake, a variety of different things. So some members have all the coverages with us. We have, our vision is basically to provide affordable insurance for our members in the state of Oregon and to keep them safer, stronger, and healthier. Just to give you an idea, what I do is I go out and do best practice surveys with our members. We develop risk management plans based on the information that we get on there. And what we're going to talk about today is a little bit more comprehensive and focused and directed risk management. We call it a risk management compliance plan that has some goals. A lot of them are the same goals that we provide on our basic risk management plans, but in these risk management compliance plans, we actually provide timelines for you and hopefully provide the resources to help you accomplish these goals. And our goal is to help make you guys successful in what you do. One thing I want to talk about, and I think you guys are aware of, at least the mayor I know is aware of, but and those who attended the LOC training probably, is our pre-loss legal services. So anytime you make a decision on employment matters, of course, you're going to involve your city attorney. I met Jared the other day. He's excellent. I've met quite a few city attorneys, and he's very on the ball about what the city needs to do in terms of public meeting laws, executive sessions, general operations. He's very knowledgeable. A lot of our city attorneys that we work with are very general. They don't have that expertise. So you guys are pretty lucky as a small city to have him available. And then you also have our employment attorneys at CIS. It's all free legal advice. So if you're going to be working on a discipline action against an employee, there's certain steps as a public entity that you have to follow. You need to give them due process. You need to, give them notice. You need to give them an opportunity to respond. There's a variety of different things that as a public entity and a board, elected body that you have to do for either disciplining an employee or terminating them. So our pre-loss will help you through that process. It's free legal advice. There's $15,000 per claim of a deductible if you don't call them ahead of time and get information on how to handle things. It can go up to $60,000 for each instance. It adds up and accumulates. So if there's a claim filed, so I know that the mayor, I think the mayor's talked to our pre-loss, your city attorney. We've talked to them about different situations. So that's available and it's all under your liability coverage. And then we have hire to retire consultants who help with anywhere from hiring to retirement and the HR issues, the policies and procedures in between there. So we have a lot of great resources available to you guys that can help you. And we talked about some of those. So we also have a website that has a variety of resources. When I met with the mayor, the city council president, we met with your insurance agent, and we met with Krista and Dave Nelson, who's our CIS Property and Casualty Trust Director, came and visited you guys, those people on the 15th of this month, kind of discussed some of the things that we've been hearing. Normally we don't have these compliance plans for our members. We have about 3 members that have had these, actually there's been a couple others, but typically I work with the city recorders. They have a lot on their plate. You know, we do our best practice survey. I provide resources. They ask questions, and I provide service throughout the year. We don't get a lot of calls from the agent. We don't get a lot of calls in terms of issues that they're hearing about in the community. We don't get a lot of calls from other members. We don't see things in the paper a lot, you know, about our different cities. There's just a variety of different things that we don't normally see. And so over the last few years, I've been hearing a lot of things through the grapevine and having people call us directly about some concerns that they had. So that's kind of why we kind of met with the mayor and the clerk and the council president and the agent about putting together a plan and where we can help make you guys successful and provide those, you know, resources that might help do that. So we have our website available. We have an online learning center. Our website has a variety of different sample policies and procedures. Our learning center has a variety of different training that you can access online, including the elected officials training from 2020. So any of those people who weren't able to attend the in-person, I highly recommend that. I go every couple years, either virtually if it's offered that way or in person. We provide information on personal liability of council members and elected officials, which is really important information as a volunteer and as an elected official. There was a court case back at years ago with OHSU where they provided medical care to a young child, and it caused permanent brain damage for that individual. And so the parents sued the hospital, which is a public entity. And then they also sued the physicians and all the people that they interacted with. And a lot of times that's what happens when people file claims. They try and like shotgun approach and file claims against everybody. So the result of that court case set a precedence for Oregon and for what happens with elected officials. So it set a precedence that no longer is it just the public entity that can be sued, but it is the individuals who work in the public entity as well. So that's especially why we try to help our elected officials and our communities to prevent the risks that they might have, make sure they're doing their governance correctly, their meetings, you know, treating people correctly, just a variety of different things so that we can keep that from happening to the city of Mitchell, because and it also got to kind of helped take away some of the tort cap limits and raise those significantly, where it used to be $50,000 is all they could sue you for, and now it's quite a bit more than that. So any kind of claim or a lawsuit could, you know, easily bankrupt, you know, the city if that happened to you guys. We cover up to a certain amount of limit, and then above that, the city would be responsible for that. So most of our coverage limits are relatively high, but, you know, we're seeing a lot more cases where the awards are significantly higher than what our coverage limits are, or so that's why I'm here. That's why we try to be preventative with an insurance pool. All of the funds that you pay go into a pool, and we pay our claims out of that. So if one member has a lot of claims, it directly impacts the other members. And so when you see increases each year to budget for your insurance through CIS, those are usually directly related to either the market, what the other carriers or reinsurers are talking about, or it has to do with the amount that we'll have to increase claims to in order to, you know, cover all the claims that we've had. So we have publications, we have an annual report, you know, we have a variety of different resources. I provided that information, a lot of it to the city. So hopefully those resources will be beneficial for you. I know you have a lot, limited manpower there at the city with a small number of staff. We try to put together employee handbooks, safety manuals, all the resources, you know, employment forms, performance review forms, everything so that you can just take it and make it your own. And it's already been reviewed by an attorney or our staff. And we try to make it as easy as possible for you. So The other thing that kind of came up is, that kind of brought us to this point is there were some ethics complaints filed against a couple people of staff and elected officials. We've been hearing from other county, members in the county about potential issues with emergency services, the staffing, training, equipment, credentialing, all of that. We've also, in talking to a variety of people, heard about some potential issues with knowledge on when to have public, an executive session, when to talk about discipline or performance issues, just a variety of different things, which is, unless you've been to the training from the league, it's sometimes hard to know all the things that you need to know as an elected official. So that's just kind of why we were here today. So my goal, and I know the goal of Dave Nelson, who's my director, is just to try and help you with facilitating, making sure that everybody, can work together to have a common goal for the city of Mitchell. That's really what, we're here for, and what you are here for as an elected official. We want to make sure, you work together, you work as a quorum, you make decisions based on the group rather than individuals. You're not dealing with staff, based on the results of what, the direction of the whole council, and not just individual people, because you can't work individually. It's not that, doesn't work that way with elected officials by law. So we also want to prevent claims. We want to make sure that, we provide you with the resources. We also have the League of Oregon Cities. They have legal advice that is very beneficial. Patty Mulvihill was the legal counsel there. She's now the executive director. And there's 2 other attorneys now that are both excellent resources. And I work very closely with them too. So they're, both of us try and have already provided a lot of resources to the city, and want to continue to do so that we protect the city and also the rest of the trust. So the plan that you think you've gotten in your packet already has the goals that we want to work on. We have a lot of the resources to provide to help you with those things. So it's not just you're out on your own on an island, not being able to do, these things without support. We're here to support you and help you do that. And we've already had some meetings about how we can help you with that. So as far as CIS and LOC. So there's timeline set. We work with the cities and, do updates to see where we're at, how you're doing. Are those timelines reasonable? Are you making progress? Are you working together appropriately? All these things. So hopefully we'll just be able to accomplish these goals. If not, a lot, we don't have very many members, like I said, that have had these plans. I think we've had 3 or 4 in my 18 years at CIS, and most of these have been in recent years. And if the goals are not accomplished, or we see resistance in trying to work towards these things, there's a lot of things that our executive director, Patrick Priest, and our board, who's made up of county and city representatives, that we might do. We might decide to put a per occurrence deductible rather than an aggregate deductible, so that if claims start happening because of the inability to work together or the things that are going on, then you would be on the hook for those. We might raise the deductible. We might exempt certain types of coverages if we see issues. We might lower your limits so that you're on the hook for things above that if there's issues. And then the worst case scenario, and this has only happened to 2 members in the time I've been with CIS. We've had another one that was on a kind of probationary period. This is like a long process to get to this point, but the worst case scenario is we talk about in front of the board to, if we're just not making progress and we're just getting resistance and not having any, success with helping you, then we do talk about termination, but in this time I've been with CIS, we've never terminated coverage for any members. We have a couple that are kind of pending. We don't know what is going to happen. They've extended deadlines for them quite a while, several years. So, we don't know if they're going to have that happen, but that is a possibility. So that's why I mentioned that. I'm going to go over the compliance plan, and if anybody has questions, I noticed that when other people were talking during the last presentation, I had a hard time hearing people that were further away from the microphone, so it was cutting out quite a bit. So I might just have you ask me questions at the end, and if I can't hear you, I might have Krista or somebody summarize what was said, or maybe have you come up a little closer. Because I want to make sure I hear what you're saying. I don't want to ignore you or anything, or not be able to hear you. So I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. So did most of you get a copy of the compliance plan that Dave Nelson sent out, dated from our, I think the cover letter says March 16th. Oh, actually the risk management plan says the 16th of March as well. Did everybody get a copy of that prior to the meeting?
Everybody's got a copy.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of go through some of these items. And so on the first one is the city will continue to consult and follow advice of your city attorney, Jared Reed. Like I said, he is an excellent resource for you guys. I believe, I don't know if he's working on contract basis or if you have retainers, or I imagine he's working on a contract basis by case or question that you have, but very good resource for you guys. I was very impressed when he was talking at our meeting on the 15th. So he can help you with governance and supervisory issues. You can also use our pre-loss legal regarding employment issues as needed. And we also have H2R if you have questions about things that are previous to discipline or termination issues. Number 2 is effective immediately. All communication from the city of Mitchell will be retained by elected officials on city email accounts, or copying the city recorder to comply with Oregon public record laws. I think one of the things that was discussed and has been, it's a thing that happens a lot with big cities as well as small cities, is any communication that you have as a council, whether it be sitting in the local diner and a group of you are there, and all of a sudden something comes up in regards to city business or concern of the citizens, or you're emailing and you have an email to all the council members and you hit reply all, to everybody hits reply all, and you're communicating back and forth. There's been cases that have created that being constituting a public meeting and something that you would have to notice the public on. So I recommend that you avoid doing that and just try to do most of your business in your council meetings. But any kind of communication, one thing we recommended and provided to Krista is that as an elected official, if you're utilizing your personal email address, your personal computer for city business, we recommend that you have a laptop or a tablet or something that each council member has. That's what you use for the city business. We recommend that you have a formalized email address that is specifically for the city business, because with public meeting law records laws, if you are using personal email, using your personal computer, using your phone for city business, and someone does a public records request and wants to have all the emails that of some topic that you guys talked about, or any communication, they can actually get your personal emails, they can get your personal equipment. So that's why I think that was communicated to the council about having certain city specific email addresses. So that didn't come from, Krista or the mayor, that came from LOC, or I think it originally came from LOC and CIS legal, to have those specific city emails be utilized for city business. So, and to keep records, all the records of any communication that goes on through those. So that is number 2. That's kind of a long answer for that. And to give you some idea, I wanted to let you know why that's so important. By June 1st, we want to see the city auditor file the financial review with the state of Oregon for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, or whatever the date is that you, for an extension, if you've received an extension. But we want to see last year's audit. That's really important to us. We actually, our underwriters check every year to see if our members have had their audit. I know that auditors are backlogged. I know that auditors are few and far between. And so I'm seeing a lot more members who are having a real struggle to get their audits done or to even get them started. So we understand that, but it's very important for what the law requires of cities to make sure you file your financial information every year. The next one is to do by June 1st, 2023, the city council will all attend the League of Oregon Cities Elected Essentials training and provide proof of attendance. For those who had already attended, we do know that I believe it was the mayor, 2 council members, and the city clerk attended the one in Metolius. Is that correct? I'm sorry, I can't hear. Mayor.
It was myself, the clerk, and 3 council members.
And 3 council members. Okay.
We're in process of getting the 4th one done.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we have it on our learning center, like I mentioned, and it'll actually give you a certificate if you complete it, I believe. So if you have, want to get that council set up so they can access the learning center and do other kinds of training too, which we'll talk about. We can get you signed up, or I think they can create their own login, or as an administrator, the main person at the city can create those. So that's another thing that we want to see accomplished by June 1st. And then number 5, as soon as practical, staff and elected officials will take an LOC public budgeting meeting and record law class, so that you have a full understanding of Oregon budget, meeting, and public records laws to avoid any violations of Oregon state law. And I believe, didn't you tell me you were doing something with budgeting? Some kind of training?
We've done I've held one LOC training, and we are on our 2nd one today for the state budgeting. There's one more Thursday, and that will complete the series.
Awesome. Great job. So that's awesome. You guys are already working on that and a third of the way there. So they do offer those regionally. I don't know if they do them virtually, but you might call the league and see if they have that available. But that is the 5th goal. And then for number 6, for an indefinite period, the city agrees that its newly elected public officials will take this training, and also the league, the elected essentials training, within 3 months of being elected. And they typically, after major elections, do provide those around the state regionally. So I know you guys had said Metolius was the closest to you guys. But what I mentioned too is with any training with the league, or I know that they charge for their courses, and I've done a lot of training with them in partnership with them. I talk about CIS, they do they're part of the training, and they'll actually, if you want to do the training, if it's something you want to do with other communities in your area, then you can partner together, and they split the costs of that with all the people who attended and their lodging and everything. So it makes it a lot cheaper for everyone involved. And there's a lot of other rural communities that I work with out there that could probably benefit from it, and most of them can't get to those trainings either. So it would help everybody to do that and make it cheaper for everybody. So that's an option as well. On the number 7, July 1st, 2023, the city council and staff will will complete harassment training and provide proof of attendance. We have a harassment training on our learning center. It's our pre-loss legal attorney, Tamara. And she does that training. So you can either do that, or we can talk about doing a regional in-person training there. That's another option as well. So number 8, July 1st, 2023, the City Council will schedule mediation services in coordination with LOC and CIS H2R pre-loss legal services. So we've already had a conversation about this as a team. We met before we introduced this plan to you all, between LOC legal and our pre-loss legal, our H2R consultant who does a lot of our training, and then myself and some other people. So they've already talked about doing a joint training possibly, or Sharon Harris, who does our HR training, coming out, and she's done mediation work as well. So with our services, generally we don't charge for that. The league charges, but we might be able to figure out a way to help make it, if they do charge for their part, to make it easier for you guys. We might have a grant available or something. We talked about that on the 15th. So it's not a huge burden on the city to do this. And then by September 1st, 2023, the City Council will have completed the mediation services to assist with improving internal dynamics among the council members and the mayor and the city council members and the staff, and just so everybody can work together in a coordinated effort towards a common goal, which is what we really all want and what's really needed to make any progress. So number 9, by July 1st, 2023, the City Council will complete training with LOC on council and staff relations. And these are things they might be able to do all at the same time when they come out, just make a training that includes a lot of these different things. So it might not have to be, separate trainings that you have. July 1st, 2023, the city will appropriately cover any public safety volunteers. It's my understanding, I believe, that when we talked, the public safety volunteers are all volunteers, even the chief. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do have compensation for those volunteers.
Is it a stipend or reimbursement? Or what kind of?
No, it's
compensation?
100% volunteer. And we have the workers' compensation covered.
Gotcha. Oh, that's what you meant by compensation. Okay. I didn't know if you meant monetary
Oh,
compensation.
no.
Yeah,
Nope.
that changes a little bit with Boley and some other things about whether they're volunteers or employees. So yeah, so this is a requirement. We just started doing it with all of our members. So some of our members just have volunteers. We want to make sure they're covered under work comp, and you guys have already, sounds like you've already got that covered. And I think that's why we took that off on the original list. And now we just have, we put that you will have them covered by work comp, but also maintain that on your public safety personnel. So make sure that that coverage stays in place. And then July 1st, and you'll see this is July 1st on a lot of these. And like I said, we'll work with you on this. We don't want you drinking from the fire hose, because that just doesn't make it successful for anybody. But we wanted some timelines to set here, and we'll see what kind of progress you make, and we'll go forward and maybe modify some of these. But we want to make sure that the city fire and EMS departments are up to date with their training, their equipment's functional, operational, gets them there safely to the fires, their turnouts are in good condition. You're following all the things that DPSST wants you to do. So we actually have, that creates a lot of liability for the trust, is our public safety, and not just Mitchell, but a lot of places, and especially our smaller communities where it's just strictly volunteer and not a lot of resource available for those departments. So by July 1st, the city fire and EMS departments will meet with a CIS public safety consultant. His name is Dan Brown. He was formerly with Arizona. He was a police chief down there. And then he also was the city manager down in Burns. So we were lucky enough to have him come to work for us, and he's the person that would be the contact for that. And he does an assessment of the police and fire departments in our pool. And he'll provide information on training and policies. And then you'll work with him to meet industry best practices and all statutory obligations for fire departments and EMS, including DPSST training requirements. So all those things are something we can help with. He's a great resource and very knowledgeable, great guy too, really great to work with. I'm really happy to have him with us. Number 12, for an indefinite period, the city agrees to participate either in person or virtually in a virtual format in the CIS annual conference to learn about current risk management techniques and share that information with other elected officials. So if you have one person just attend this conference, then you can share that information with others. This year, last August, we kind of switched up things with COVID. I kind of threw our in-person conferences into a tailspin, as everybody knows. And so we went virtual for quite a while. Last August, or actually last February, when we normally have our in-person conference, COVID was still kind of a thing, and masking and was still kind of hanging on out there. So we decided to do an August in person. So we had our in-person conference in August this year of last year. This year we didn't, it was in the same fiscal year. So we decided to do a virtual format. So we did that in February, abbreviated virtual. And then next year we'll do an actual in-person, again, hybrid. So you have the option of attending in person, or you can do it online. All the registration fees, if you do decide to go in person, we have grants that will pay for all the registration fees for one person from your entity. That pays for all the meals. And then usually we give you a hotel, one night hotel lodging included as well. So it helps to reduce some of the costs to you for traveling. And it's usually held in Salem is where we have a contract. You can also attend virtually, and I don't believe they charge, I'm not sure that they don't charge for people who attend virtually. So you can have access to the live workshops, and then also they record it so you can see them later on too. And then we try to put those into the Learning Center also. So that is the, seems quite ominous, I know. The reason we have the ability to put these plans together and the implementation of the risk management compliance plan is under our CIS bylaws 3.2F. We require that our members follow risk management procedures established by our trust and with the purpose and powers of the trust. So we want everybody to kind of work together and work in a risk preventative or mitigative or avoidance type of a way. So that's why I'm here to help with that. We want you to be successful. We want you to work together. We want to see good things, good progress, like all those grants that the Business Oregon was talking about, and money that can come to your community. What we want you to be successful and see Mitchell be successful. So we want you to do that without, we also have to be cognizant of the risk to the rest of the members of the trust as well. So if we have concerns that are brought forward to us, or we see concerns, or we have issues interacting with people, or, whatever it may be, things that cause red flags for us, then we come to these points where we kind of get a little more involved in how we will do business with you guys. So we are looking forward to working with you. I look forward to meeting with my members all the time. I have really close relationships with all my members, even the ones in Southern Oregon. When I was there for 14 years ago, I still have people that come up to me there, and agents, and I'm a hugger. So, a lot of people we hug and, to talk about family, and I'm not just this person that comes and wants to know about, business and then I leave. I try to get to know people as well. So I'm here as a resource. So that's, and pretty local. You're a little trek for me over there trying to get through, especially in the wintertime. It was an interesting drive to get over there the other day when we had a little snowstorm come through, but we made it. So I think that's it. So if you want to, if you guys have any questions, I know that's a lot and it feels like a lot, but like I said, you know, we have the resources available to help. And when you're trying to get those things set up with me, with a CIS, you know, like the mediation or harassment, if you want to do that in person, or a lot of those trainings, I can be the person to go through. Sometimes, and even with you guys, we talked about this at the meeting. Sometimes it's really difficult for CIS working with our members if we have a bunch of people calling me and pre-loss. And I mean, we usually members go directly to pre-loss, but we do have one person that channels kind of everything to either pre-loss or H2R consultants. But usually I'm kind of your agent, or me, I'm kind of the frontline person that you talk to. And then if it's something where I need to get other people involved, whether it be the public safety consultants or pre-loss or H2R or, you know, trainers or whatever, then I generally field that, you know, work for you guys. And it just makes it easier. We're not having different messages going to different people. You're not getting different answers. You know, we're consistent in our responses to you, but sometimes we don't always get the same message from our members. It's, you know, a little bit here and then something else over here different. And so it's really hard if we don't have a consistent message going through one channel to provide the assistance that we can to you guys. So I hope that we can you guys can maybe designate one person, one point of contact where everything goes through to us, and we can do it, and they can bring the information back and you can make decisions from that, you know, based on the information you get back from them. So I'll stop talking now. I'm never a loss for words. So hopefully all the information was helpful. I thought it might be helpful, since I've never been in front of the council there, to kind of talk about who we are, what we do. And, you know, we're not just somebody who just showed up on your doorstep one day a couple months ago and, you know, just decided to make your life difficult. You know, we've been working with you guys for quite a long time. I think you've been with us for about 40, since the beginning of our inception, about 40 years, I believe. So we've been working with you for a long time. So we want to keep that relationship going forward. Do you guys have any questions or about any of those things that I just talked about? And like I said, I can't hear, a lot of times it's cutting out in the back. I mean, anyone away from the main table right there.
No questions at this time.
You're kidding me. Oh my gosh, I probably put everybody to sleep. I was pretty amazed at you guys, your technology system that you have there for Mitchell. I've worked with you guys for 13 years. I went from the little tiny office space that you guys have, and I didn't even realize you had this nice meeting area over here, you know, with TV. And I know that's relatively new, but that's pretty awesome. I don't see a lot of small cities that have that. I know with COVID, we all had to go virtual, so a lot of them probably went towards that, but it's a pretty cool system you guys have. So it's nice to be able to, you know, virtual in, since I've been on the road for, like, I swear it's been like the last 4 months. So it's nice. I was just there all week last week in your region. So it's nice to be able to come and meet with you guys this way. And I apologize not being in person. It's more effective, and I feel better about being there and meeting you all in person, but I appreciate you letting me do this virtually this week, and my dogs appreciate it as well. So if you have any questions, you know, just write them down, send them to me on email. I can send this presentation to you if you'd like that. It has my contact information on it. But again, like I said, if you have questions, I prefer having them go through one channel, you know, so that we're not just it gets pretty busy. I have 80 members, and like I said, my region is pretty large, and so I'm gone most of the time. And so having one person to talk to and get back to and tell you the answer, and then you can take it to those people is really helpful for me. And your agent's a great resource too, Kathleen Lee at BizNet. She's been in this business for, I don't even know how long. She's a local person, and she knows all the towns and the people. So she's a great resource as well. Krista?
Would you like, is this lecture that you're sending in these stipulation, something that you would like the council to formally make a motion on, or is that just the way it is?
I'll have to ask Dave about that because this is the first time I've ever had one of these plans put into place. I don't know if the council has the option or if if it's required to have them vote on it, and as a whole. So I need to ask Dave that and I can let you know if that works for you.
Well,
Unless
because we won't be able to address it until
next month.
April, which that's gonna be bumping our timelines.
Okay, you might want to just go forward and do it because
But I'm saying
it's kind of I think it's kind of more of a mandatory thing than an optional, like some of our risk management plans are that we do after the best practice survey. It's been kind of executive director driven. So yeah, so it's more of this is what we're gonna do, and that, not really an optional thing, I guess. I hate to say, but yeah. Any other questions?
You just want to hang on real quick, I'm gonna put it to council for a motion to approve it. That way, even if we don't need it from the chain of command, at least we have it.
That sounds perfect to me. Yeah, and then if somebody thinks of something that they have questions on, then I'll be here.
Councilor Berber.
And I-
Councilor Berger.
Yeah, go ahead. I can't hear her.
I second that motion.
Councilor Berger Bannock made the motion to accept the City of Mitchell Risk Management Compliance Plan. Councilor Ferguson seconded it. Open for discussion. No discussion. Councilor Berger Bannock. how do you vote? Oh, Councilor Cook, sorry.
Without getting involved in the budget, what I'm mostly concerned about are some of these things. They're all within a budget window.
Well,
The last time.
like she stated there, we can work with them if we cannot get to those.
Yeah, we understand you guys are in the last, trying to just starting your budget or, the next, this current fiscal year. So yeah, we'll work with you on if we see some progress. You guys are already making progress. You've already started the budgeting classes. And so, I mean,
At least we have something set, so where
right.
none of these are really, to me, they're not really that hard to attain.
Mhm.
Any
Yeah.
further-
Always good to have a goal and a timeline to, accomplish, just to keep your eyes forward on it.
having for-
I was thinking maybe in the work session, we could just kind of quickly prioritize some of these items. Some of them are individual, and the people that haven't done the trainings, I mean, those obviously, and just prioritize in a work session. And if we think we're gonna need to readjust, obviously that communication, appoint the person that's gonna have that, communication with Lisa on what's going on and just sort out the details, I think.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cook.
How about including some of these topics that, most of us have covered as a part of the work session? That way we're all here and we're all watching.
That's something that we can work out at our work session.
Yeah, I couldn't really.
We're not all gonna sit here and do the elected essentials when.
I know that,
the
but
Majority of the council did. We
Yeah,
will-
so some of those have already been done, like mainly the elected essentials training is the one that is something that into other, there's just a couple people who may have not taken that, but the harassment, the, mediation workshop, the staff council relationships, all of those, I think everyone should participate in going forward here. So even if you've had it sometime in the past, we're talking about a new story, I guess, so to speak. So I'd like to see everybody do that together.
Any further discussion on accepting the complaints? No further discussion. Councilor Berber, how do you vote? Councilor Kettle. Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Motion passed 4 ayes, 2 absent to accept the compliance policy by CIS. Would council like to appoint a point person to be the contact to CIS?
I thought we were gonna discuss that in the work session.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you, Lisa. I believe council has approved it, and we will start at our work session on prioritizing how to move forward on these items.
Okay, I appreciate you guys having me here. And again, like if you think of anything after the fact or after your work session, let me know. And I'm happy to, provide whatever information you need. And hope you guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
I'd like to propose a 5-minute break or just us. A 5-minute break. That was a lot. Okay. Thank you, people on Zoom, for allowing us a 5-minute break. Okay, so under new business, we are at removing Councilor Ferguson as supervisor report and approving council president to take over the supervisory duties of the court. This was kind of a mutual agreement upon both Councilor Ferguson, both council president. They both feel it's a good fit for both of them. I feel the same way also, and I do believe the court is compliant with everything, so. Is that for resolution 2304?
2303. Would you like me to read it?
It said 2304.
Yeah. 2303. I apologize. Yeah, 2303.
If you'd like to read it.
Resolution number 2303, Mitchell, Oregon, a resolution appointing supervisor of city clerk. Whereas the city council of the city of Mitchell, Oregon, pursuant to Mitchell City Charter, is vested with authority of administering the affairs of city of Mitchell, Oregon. Whereas section 10 of the Mitchell City Charter provides that the council may designate any appointed officer to supervise or train any other appointed officer, whereas the city clerk is currently supervised by Councilor Kenneth Ferguson, who wishes to transfer that responsibility to Councilor Patricia Verba-Bannock. Whereas the city council desires to approve the transfer of the supervision from Kenneth Ferguson to Patricia Verba-Bannock. Now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Mitchell, Oregon as follows. The city council hereby approves the appointment of Patricia Verba-Bannock as supervisor of the city clerk and hereby relieves Kenneth Ferguson of that role.
Thank you. Council. Motion. To accept resolution 24. Councilor
We're
Catmull,
2303.
2303.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution. 2303.
If
Councilor
they're
Cook,
involved, I guess I can't second it, so I won't.
They can.
they can, because there's no financial gain, and that's where your conflict of interest comes in, is when it's monetary or there, you know, so there's no conflict of interest in them. By what is the resolution reads. So Councilor Cook, you do second it? I will. Okay. Councilor Catmull made the motion to accept resolution 2303. Councilor Cook has seconded. Open for discussion. No discussion. Councilor Verba-Bannock, how do you vote?
And
Councilor Catmull.
Aye.
Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Council has approved resolution 2304, 4 ayes, 2 absent.
2303.
2303. Thank you, council. Councilor Ferguson, you have a. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Ferguson. Council recommendations, training for the clerk. I believe part of her review, again, I was not at the meeting, but there was comments about types of training that the council feels would benefit the clerk. I do believe the clerk would like to know what kind of training council would like to recommend for the clerk, so she can work on getting that training. Any recommendations? From council? Council person.
If they just keep following the fact that we're on.
Council is aware that the court is going to school for public administration. Which is going to. It's a lot of training without calling it training, it's more schooling, so. if there is any recommendations council would like training for, it would be great to have a prior knowledge so that the court can either look at our schedule, see if it's upcoming in schooling or things like that. Councilor Berber.
I don't know how to answer that because the training that you get through QuickBooks, it's not municipal specific. And so it's a little bit there. I can work with Karina Yeager that is going to be doing the payroll. She was willing to do that. So I think if the council is okay with that, I will see whatever kind of tips and things that she can come up with.
Thank you. Any further discussion regarding training? Councilor.
I feel that Krista has taken the initiative to go all to all these seminars, meetings, blah, blah, blah. To get her own training, so she should know what she needs to do to bunch all these meetings. She goes to all the conferences and all that, and, you know, she's getting trained that way. And she takes the initiative to go to it, so I think, you know, it should be, she should know what she's going to these meetings for, you know, updates, new ideas, whatever, you know. Yeah.
Right, and the reason it's on there is, again, I was not at the meeting, and again, I gotta kind of watch my fine line between the relationship of clerk and mayor. But it was stated that one of the reasons why the review was not approved was the council felt that the clerk needed more training. And that's why I'm asking what training would benefit the clerk to be able to get a more positive performance review, basically. Because if it's being stated in an open meeting that the council feels she needs more training, the council should say what type of training is being. Councilor Craft.
The only place that I did Jeff, and I don't know where and how to get the training, unless it's in her, it's part of her schooling stuff, is public relations, stuff like that. I mean, I realize customers can be a pain in the butt, but there is a way to deal with it without coming across as being aggressive towards the customer. That's, you know, customer relations training skills. I don't know how you'd word that.
So you're suggesting like more public relations. Work on public relations, how to communicate. I mean, there's a wide variety of.
As I say, I realize customers sometimes, you know, not always in the right, but they come after you. It's basically how to deal with a customer where the customer doesn't feel like the response was aggressive or bad or negative, you know. There are ways to deal with a customer like that, where the customer goes away with not, I can't say a good feeling, but not a negative. There are skills that, you know, to kind of make the customer feel okay and, you know, make the customer feel it's possibly resolved.
Well, I'm not too sure about your comment about not a good feeling and not a negative. That kind of contradicts each other. Councilor, oh, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Council, but it sounds like a lot of those things. Yeah. That were given, like a lot of those trainings on in the prior things. Have to do. So it seems, I don't know, counterproductive. If you're already mandatory to receive training, it doesn't seem like additional training would be necessary.
Oh, sorry, did you have a comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there specific instances where you think this training or is necessary? I mean, has there been things brought up that they're not being dealt with politely or whatever?
There's been citizens complaints on and off, and I'm not saying citizens are always right,
Yeah,
it just needs to be, you know. I'm not gonna get citizens involved that, without their approval, but I mean, they know what's out there, I mean, they know people that they've had communications with or dealings with, and, you know, the customer goes off and, you know, they have negative reactions to it. And I said, you can't always solve their problems, but at least our skills you can use to make them hope, you know, best way to get them to use. Not go off feeling rejected, or I don't know how you'd word that.
I believe it's called customer service, number one. Number two, what do you feel is a good customer satisfaction percentage?
My personal opinion is not possible. But I realize it's not possible.
Let's be realistic.
Okay. So you feel 100% of the people should be satisfied? So if there's people, is that what you're saying?
I don't know, yeah, I don't like the word satisfied, but yeah, I guess it would be the proper word. 100% of the people should not. I forgot how to word this.
So for example, I just finished a communications class in public administration. And customer satisfaction doesn't solely rely on my position. It relies on all of us. And customer satisfaction for the citizens isn't just water customers, although that's a portion of it. And you're happy to go through my call log and call any of those people and just find out, are they satisfied? Did they get good customer service? So if you're looking at people that are calling that don't have a stake, is that different than the gossip that keeps perpetuating around? And that 100% you will never get of people pleasing. That is absolutely will never get. But what is a realistic number of customer satisfaction? I mean, if you say, you know, is it 85% or 90%? I mean, that's still really high. So if it's 80%, you're looking at, if you have, let's say 80 water customers, how many of those do you think should be satisfied?
From 80 water customers, I'd say 65, 70, easily, you know. I'm just hoping you don't have that many complaints or that much going around.
Patty had a question.
And we also have a question on,
So, who's for,
I don't know, I didn't see.
Go ahead, Donna.
Respectfully, of course, Krista. I just think you should be more careful to start the Zoom meetings on time so that people like myself do not miss the beginning of the meetings. Respectfully. As far as training.
I did start it at 5:15 so that I could work out the bugs. If you notice your visual here, this is a new training or a new meeting owl, which we are still working out the kinks and how everybody is going to hear properly, how that works with our with our Zoom. So I appreciate your patience with that. It still may take another meeting or two. This is the first one having people on here.
Well, with respect to that, the screen that we get at the beginning of the meeting says that you are currently hosting another meeting. So I don't know, you must be logged into another computer or whatever. And then you come to and log in again. I'm not sure, but something's going on. I just think it should be resolved.
And that's all part of our new electronic system, getting the bugs worked out. We're doing what we can in a timely manner, so.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're aware of it, and we're sorry for technical difficulties, but unfortunately, we are not all tech savvy here, so. Outside of hiring a tech company to come in and work the bugs out, we are doing what we can, and thank you for your patience. That is greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything,
Real quick.
go ahead.
Yeah,
You prefer.
on customer satisfaction, I wanted to touch bases on it, because I have some experience on that. When I worked for an ad agency, we put together a customer satisfaction system for the entire PAP company. Okay, so it took 3 years to implement this system. So I mean, this was a big deal, right? And the reason it was so important to them is because customer satisfaction is money. Like, so they initiated this all on their own. We developed this, we did all this training and stuff. The percentage thing is a good question, but the most important question to come up with first that we had to do, our very first step was to survey the customers and let them set a baseline where they felt their services were, not just individual, but where were their services and how were the representatives of the company to work with, not just one individual company, but like they rated, how do you feel about PAP A, right? How do you feel about the PAP A sales manager in Eugene, you know? So they would rate all those things, and then the next year they go back and they do it again, and they see if it went up or down. It's not about hitting a specific number. It's, are we increasing customer satisfaction, or are we taking customer satisfaction? Because what happens is you would get a call, an irate customer, where's my bucket tooth for my excavator? And then everybody assumes, oh, we're doing a terrible job. And come to find out, 95% of the people thought, oh, I thought you guys were doing a great job. And so it took the pressure off the sales manager going to a sales guy and saying, you stink. Like, now he's able to take that call and say, I totally understand. Sorry, we fell down on that one specific thing, but you know, we have a good reputation elsewhere. So all I'm saying is that I think customer satisfaction is super important, but it's, I mean, kind of goes from here forward.
Right.
And Terrell does what he can, you know, everybody's doing what they can, but we don't know where we exist on a baseline. So, so saying we need to be better, well, better than what? So all that just to say that customer satisfaction can be a very tricky thing if you're only listening to one or two customers that are unhappy. So thank you for listening.
And can I add something? So we went to the League of Oregon Cities, a small city meeting, and like you've seen there with their analytics that they did, you know, company wide, and how they came up with things that they hadn't thought of because they got that input. So I guess what I would recommend is maybe not this water bill because it's so close, but maybe in the next water bill. So that would be May's water bill. Maybe we talk about putting out a survey and seeing, you know, what do people think? What do they want? You know, what are their concerns, and kind of go from there. But I think that I feel like when customers call me, even people that are just looking for camping or they're looking for other things, that I go above just saying like, we don't take reservations. Here's all the other things that you can do while you're here. Here's some information. You can go camp down, you know, dry camp here. You can go up to the camping spot up on the grade. You can camp in our park. Here's all the places you can stay if you don't want to camp. You can go to Airbnbs, or you can go to the hostel, or you can go wherever, so I don't just go, we don't take reservations. So that's why I was suggesting to maybe somebody, and maybe with Patty coming on board as my supervisor, she can pick out a few of these people, different organizations, and just, find out, instead of just this really small bubble of unhappy people.
I think that's great to put out like a customer survey. How do you think things are going to be? We're gonna take lumps here, we're gonna take lumps there, but like Pat stated out, you gotta have a baseline to see, where can we improve, where can we not improve, what are we doing wrong? Things like that. I do know that we're having a lot of frustrated people being basically comment the group emails that are being sent out and the threads that are continually going. There's a number of people that are so discouraged with that, they're frowning upon our city because of the conduct that's being put on those threads. So I would like just to make a generalized statement that if an agenda goes out, it's not there to create a thread for the community to hear what's going on. The agenda is there for public news. That's all, sir. You have a problem with the agenda, you bring it to the council. You don't create a thread which involves constitutes public meeting laws, constitutes serial meetings, everything like that. This whole is there's a member of our community that was not happy with the context that was continuing on and on. So
Harold, so are we not doing reservations at the park?
that's something that we can work on outside of this meeting. That wasn't.
It was just
part
an
of our
example.
discussion. She was just saying that was an example. But yeah, it's something that we are going to be working on. Thank you. Okay, so council recommendations. We'll work on the customer survey, get it out, hopefully April. Again, we got a lot of things coming forward. May, sorry. Yeah. And once we get that back, I believe we will probably have we'll figure out how to address those situations. Who reads them, who doesn't. Hopefully they'll be anonymous. That way people in the community won't be frowned upon or shunned or whatever, however you want to word it. Okay, moving forward, anything more on that? Moving forward, again, I was not at last meeting, but I would like to, Councilor Cook is the driving force for a forensic audit for the past 3 years. My concern not only is the money involved is why? I mean, do you have concerns that money is being spent improperly?
I mentioned at that time. Instances of stuff that I even contacted you about it. Money was spent. And I asked you for something, it's a year or 2, 3 years back that the council approved to spend this money on this and on that. The fireplace was never approved by council as far. I know we approved a certain amount for the community hall. But buying this electric fireplace was never discussed. We discussed the possibility of a pellet stove. And I was at our community development meetings after the first one. I don't remember it being discussed to buy an electric stove. I don't, and you gave me on the email reasons why a pellet stove wasn't good, but I don't remember having that discussion to go ahead and purchase this item for the community hall.
Okay, well, we create a lump sum for community development for community hall. At that time, we discussed stoves. We did not discuss electric, propane, or whatever. We went with electric.
Wait,
The people that were doing the work. You had opportunity to come in and help. So we did not come back for another meeting to say, do you guys want propane? Do you guys want electric? The money was allotted for an improvement to the community hall, $25,000. We're still under budget for this improvement. The recommendation by Lions Club was they could not bring in wood. They could not physically do it anymore. The hopes of making this more accommodating for people to rent was the idea behind the electric heat. That way nobody has to monitor pellet stove, nobody has to clean it, we don't need maintenance on it. Electric is foolproof. I'm sorry we didn't address every little situation that came about. We didn't ask for approval, a microwave. The old one was an antique, we got a new one, that didn't seem to be an issue. On top of it, the bills were approved in December by the council, which that was on there. So I don't understand where you think that that's fraud, that dictates fraud. I really don't.
I didn't say it was fraud, I just.
Yeah, yes, you
Money
did.
spent without council approval, okay.
That is fraud. You were saying that's fraud. The council did approve it in December. You're more than welcome to go through the records at the committee.
Actually, I have the record here.
There's the record right there. Because it seems like that is what you're stuck on, is that $400 stove. Even
$399.
$399 at Lowe's, I do believe. Haley,
After last meeting, you approached me, Councilor Cook, to discuss this, to elaborate on your concerns about the fireplace. And you had made the allegation that you were only being allowed one day to ask your questions about the budget. And that is why you have concerns about misusing me. But we verified with the clerk then that there's a lot more than one day to go into the office and ask questions about what money was spent on what. And it didn't seem that you really had a response, as I reminded you that that would fall back on your responsibility and not the clerk's, because you had expressed that being her fault. So it seems, I don't know what reason the fireplace is an issue, whether it's because you're not allowed to ask questions or because there's fraud. But it does, you haven't really provided any answers to why the fireplace is an issue, like Mayor Tripp just said. So it's just really confusing.
again, my concern is if you have knowledge of fraud and you're concealing it, you're just as guilty.
Why would I? If I thought there was fraud. Why would I bring forth evidence of the fraud? So it can be changed, adjusted, blah, blah, blah. And hidden.
Okay, but do you have proof of fraud?
No, I don't have proof. I have suspicion.
So what you're asking for the forensic audit for the past 3 years is not driven by proof. It's more, you're wanting them to prove what you think. You're having, in your emails, if you want to go back to emails being sent back and forth, you're saying it's all gossip. That is your direct comment to me that I wasn't going to bring to this forum, but you brought in our email communication. You said that the forensic audit would put all the gossip in the community. If I were to be driven by gossip in this community, half the council wouldn't be here. Plain simple. I don't listen to the gossip. Gossip is what it is. That gives everybody else something to do. We, as a body, need to focus on what's best for this city. The forensic audit, if the council wants to go forward with it, that is great. I, for one, am not trying to stop it. I just want to make sure that you realize the monetary is huge in a forensic audit. The guy you got the quote from, $15,000, I can produce the emails and communications with him. Because I'm like, $15,000, is that for 1 year? He said, no, that's for 3 years. And then for the communication, he says, well, I don't think I can meet your guys' expectations because I was not given the full information that you are providing to me. CIS said that minimum $35,000 a year for a forensic audit, minimum. So that's $105,000 for a 3-year forensic audit dating back. Again, that's council's discretion. My concern, which I, as the mayor, this is my concern is where's the money coming? And also, if the financial review is out of whack at any certain point in time, person doing the financial review would say, city council, I have a concern about this.
What's the click clack and Catherine the click clack did do that. They did send a letter, to you.
Because they needed more money to finish what they had to do, because they had to go in and do some further work. They didn't ever say that they had a suspicion of any illegal activity.
You were sent the draft of the review and it doesn't have anything in it.
And coincidentally enough, Cockburn, the very next day, the council approved the money, they produced a financial review. So they had already done the work. They just, I don't know what would have happened if you didn't approve the money, but they had already done the work. To me, it's their fault because they're locked into a certain price. They may not have realized that, oh, crap, we had to do more this year. So I don't know if it was them getting in over their head or them being overloaded, because why did it take this long to get our financial review? That's way ridiculous. So my concern is, number one, the money to do the forensic audit. And number two, if you have evidence of it and you're concealing it, you could be held. You're just as guilty, because if you can produce it, you should be able to produce it. If you think that paper things are going to be destroyed, there's so many paper trails and there's so many things that if it came down forensic audit, they would pull the hard drive. And even if you try to erase something, it's still there. I mean, you can erase your emails, they're still there. Somebody can. Councilor Burbank.
I would think that if any of us had concerns about fraud in any way, public officials here, we're, sorry, we're prepared to, and this is that place to go ahead and put that. Whether it's against Patrick, whether it's against Kenneth, any of us that are here, any of us, if any of us think that there's fraud being done, we're responsible. Because if somebody else finds it and brings it to us and proves it, all of us sitting here at these tables, we're all the ones that are going to be having to be answering for it. What did we know? When did we know it? How did we know it? Who did we know it from? And why did we not bring it forward right here in this room? That's my thought. That's what I feel that I'm supposed to be a public official. If I know something that's wrong, and especially if it's a fiduciary matter to it, oh, I am gonna sing like a canary. That really would be. Yeah. And any of us think that any of us.
Have you, excuse me, have you been able to get a more what do they call those bids for a forensic audit?
Do other people have contacted? They're supposed to send me proposals, but they said, we're booked up, we're timed up, it's tax season, so.
I mean, we can still entertain them by all means. I'm just, my wholehearted concern is how we gonna pay. Where we always have to think of that is like, how are we gonna fund anything. Before we commit to spending enormous amount of time, yeah, look at how are we gonna fund this? I mean, that's like, we're not gonna hire a paving contractor to pave the street, and go like, okay, well, he's coming out tomorrow. Yeah, we gotta kind of make sure that what we're asking for and what we wanna do, we're able to compensate it with funding, so. Council Burger, then.
Also with that funding that we're talking about here, this money that these companies want to charge, that's just their charge. That's not what it's gonna cost for or any of the rest. She'll have, if it were to go, if you wanted this to be done in Italy for the last 3 years, I imagine there are things that got put into boxes or whatever that Shane put in there when she was, also, that it's also gonna be taxing all of us here for the needs for the council to be able to go through, just to go through our council meetings. We'll have to go ahead and allocate more hours to her to be able to go through and find these things. What, you're 32 hours a week right now? So what, we're gonna put her into overtime? Just to be able to, get time to be able to go through those records and find all that stuff. I don't.
You're gonna have to cut my hours in order to pay for it. I mean, really,
Quick Google search proves that if city or a citizen or a council member suspects that there is any kind of fraudulent activity within a city, the first thing is not to go to a forensic audit. The first thing is to go to legal counsel and to go to a citizen task force with educated people, people educated in the whole accounting process, public accounting process, and present evidence to them. And then from that point, they then turn around and make a recommendation to council saying, you know what, we heard this, we accessed all the public records, legal counsel has looked at the public records, and legal counsel's recommendation is X. So, because like as a citizen, and no offense, but when I hear you say, where are we gonna get the money to fight fraud? I'm like, as a citizen, I want to know that any fraud, whether we can afford to find it or not, we got to find it. Okay? So that's really important. But I think it's the process that is kind of backwards. And if you feel like you've got evidence of fraud, which I'm not saying you don't, whatever, it would take the process of involving your legal counsel first, and then having that person make a recommendation from that point. So that's just, when I looked at 3 other cities that were fighting fraud, Pasadena, Los Angeles, and
oh geez.
Well,
right. I'm paying for each one of them. They create a task force, they review the information, they involve legal counsel, they don't go directly to the. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to follow it up. So how would you propose that we do that? Seems like we can't even get volunteers on our budget.
I'm just saying the process.
Right. So we don't want to have group sync bubble syndrome. So, and we're not Los Angeles. So how would we just send it to Jared?
I think I would flip the question, if it were me.
Yeah.
And it's not, I would flip the question before legal counsel to figure out what your legal counsel thought was the best process. That's just me.
Council Pedersen.
First of all, I think we should have actual proof of whatever it is brought up to begin with, so we can see it, read it, find it, instead of just keep saying fraud or this. I mean,
Yeah.
So
we're talking about, we're talking about, because we keep talking about this for 30 stinking minutes now over absolutely no evidence, and we're beating this horse to death. This is getting old. So either get the paperwork out, go get your peoples, get it wrote down and bring it up here so we can do it or get off the boat. I'm done hearing this fraud stuff. This is done. Ridiculous.
Would you feel comfortable presenting your evidence to the city attorney? Councilor Cook?
There are suspicions and that's not that, or I'm coming, my first coming back, when you asked about the suspicion.
So
I have to sit there and go through all the.
I'll ask the question again. Would you feel comfortable presenting what you have to city attorney? And letting him make a decision on advising us how to move forward?
Yeah.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Being that we have new council rules of contacting the city attorney, I would ask the council to approve a certain amount of hours for this attorney.
We already got one.
Mhm.
Would the council like to, I don't know how long it would take. Present what you have. My suggestion would be to present what you have to the attorney, and let the attorney kind of give a preliminary report. That shouldn't take much more than an hour of how he feels the city should move forward. If it takes more than that, you know, we just got kudos because we have a good lawyer, so attorney. So, Councilor Cook, if you could stay within your 1 hour time frame, please, for the month, and when we get the advice from the city attorney of how to move forward. Because he, in a meeting that we had, he commented about Culver, that he worked with Culver on something that may be similar. I still suggest that you do find, if you can get the quotes from the two other people. That way we got a ballpark figure. In my opinion, the one that we already got, in his comment, he said he cannot produce what we're looking. So, and he gave me examples. He goes, well, what I do is I just kind of overlook everything. I don't dig into anything. I just overlook anything. I give it to you guys. If you want me to dig in more, then I charge you accordingly. So that was a red flag to me. It's like $15,000 for 3 years. Didn't seem appropriate. It didn't seem like enough money, especially when people are saying, you know, 30,000. All right. He just overlooks it, and his concern is more if you're doing things by the code of the law. Where it's not, he's not pulling all your records, thumbing through everything. He's more that you're compliant with the law and glances it. Oh,
I do, I don't know if it's appropriate right now, but there is a line item on the payment that's gone out, that is wrong.
What?
Council's already approved it, so.
What is wrong?
To route for community hall, $2,500 and 18. 25 or 2,500.
What page are you on?
Is that the QuickBooks one or the other one?
What's the big report? Yeah, QuickBooks report, July 1. Oh, so it's a heat to it. It's a Home Depot for the. So it's more than grout. So there's more details on the invoice.
Right.
That looks real fishy.
The grout is just one part of it. Pull that invoice.
So we give you everything that we come back into.
That just worried me. I didn't know.
It's kind of a red flag, I get it.
That's some like golden grout.
But that's why people need to look at the invoices and not just rely on.
And that's a good practice that has been started with, you get to see the actual bill. Rather than prior, you were just given a form saying that this. So that way you can associate, instead of seeing grout, you can say, oh, well, there's grout, there's lumber.
We're gonna move on.
There's.
Wow.
All right, we are at.
Actually, I had something.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So last meeting, Counselor Cook said that she was going to come up and make the appointment to get her answers. And I have not had any other, she came and viewed the bills, but not for any other past whatever things that I can give her to.
I haven't been in that.
Okay, well,
I was nice.
Okay, well, it's my
Every-
reputation here that you're. I would appreciate if you would find the time.
maybe you can find your answers rather than jumping further. So. Okay, any other things on that? Approval, moving forward, approval of brochure and letterhead logo. There was, they're given 4 letterhead logos.
These guys right here.
Excuse me, to look at. We've got logo in place to update our. old
Our
logo,
letterhead
our
and
letterhead.
rebranding.
And with that, we have a seal that we can go with, like, I've been wanting to order, like, when I go to training, once we get something figured out, I'm gonna personally pay for a shirt where it has our logo and says who I am, rather than going to these trainings. And I ordered myself a badge, but you go to these trainings and just about everybody there says, Council or whatever from wherever, and they have a seal. I think it's a great item that we can associate or we can put into our me personally, I'm gonna use it, and it's gonna be on my dime. So I'm just hoping that the council.
Well, it was free. The chamber did it. So, I mean, you need to. But approve. What, yeah, so if you could do the logo and the brochure separately, the brochure was also done by the chamber. I did ask her to, she had I think Little Pine Lodge was not on there, but now, it says souvenir shop and beings that, I don't know, maybe Dewana wants to speak to that, but it wasn't on there and I asked her to include that. So maybe we just need to change that name. That would probably be a simple fix if you want to, if there's anything else you think that needs included or.
For the, where to stay?
Where is it at?
Oh, where to stay? Oh.
It was under where to stay. It says Little Pine Lodge and Souvenir Shop. She changed her name to. Little Pine-
That's perfect for me.
Okay,
Thank you, Krista.
you're welcome. So you got the little ditty about the map and the Painted Hills, and then these brochures go to like Forest Service office, then, a couple around town, but mostly for maybe other places around here, so that I guess the idea is maybe that you keep people here, something to do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luana.
I just noticed that it says 100 East Street. Maybe we could put 100 East Main Street.
Okay. So if we could do the brochure and the logo separately, or unless somebody wants to do them both together, just naming whichever logo that you guys wanted. The reason I am putting it to you is because everybody had a different preference.
I just thought the green would have more color together. Flat.
I know you were in printing, so anything that's two color is more expensive
Oh, yeah,
when you go to print it.
yeah.
That's okay,
What's that?
that's okay.
All right. Number 4, in my opinion, let's look like baby. There is a photograph out there that from the late 1800s, early 1900s, that actually looks. Really? Yeah, it's all forgotten. It's a cool photograph. Anyway.
Kind of like that. Start between two.
Okay, that's the big one.
I personally like number 2.
Duana likes number 2.
Okay. Counselor Ferguson.
I'd like to make a motion to accept number 2.
Go. Counselor Catmull. Counselor Ferguson made the motion, Counselor Catmull made seconded to approve seal number 2. Open for discussion. No discussion, Counselor Berger.
Aye.
Counselor Catmull.
Aye.
Counselor Ferguson.
Aye.
Counselor Cook. Thank you, Council. Number 2. Logo number 2. sorry.
Logo number 2, brochure.
Brochure. I like it. It's. I think we do need a strategic, not every business in town should get some, I know. Well, maybe, I don't know, how many are we ordering?
Well, that's the second thing. I don't know how much they cost. I just kind of wanted to get to an approval point first.
So this is to approve.
Just
the
approve
brochure,
the
and then we'll
brochure.
Find out. in the printing.
I would like to make a motion to approve this group.
Councilor Ferguson.
Second that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Berger Bennett, seconded by Councilor Ferguson to approve the brochure as presented. Open for discussion. No discussion, Councilor Berger Bennett. Councilor Catmull.
Aye.
Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Motion passed, both motions passed for action. And moving on. My God. The wood stove has been brought to our attention. Number one, it's not certified. I think we need more clarity from possibly our city attorney of our best thing to do with it being that it's not certified, because I don't want to put the city in a prediction for a place where we're either giving something away, selling something, raffling something, doing something with something. Unless we can have a disclaimer attached to it, so if the council would agree, I think we need to make sure that what we want to do with it, we can do with it without putting ourselves liable. Councilor Berger.
In regards to wood stove being donated, raffled off. Whatever, so that People will not be liable.
Council Ferguson.
I second.
Councilor Berkeley made the motion, Councilor Ferguson seconded the motion to consult with the attorney on the wood stove. Open for discussion. Councilor Cook.
Is it the same wood stove that is listed under these items were taken to the waste facility and they were unusable? Is that the same stove?
No, it's the heat
Wood
stove,
stove.
heat stove.
Okay.
It's the wood stove sitting outside there is my question. The ones you're looking at was the electric stoves.
The cooking stove.
Yeah, cooking
It's a
stove.
cooking stove, okay. The word heat, excuse me.
Any further discussion? Councilor Berkeley. Councilor Catmull. Councilor Ferguson.
I,
Councilor Cook.
I,
Motion passed 4 ayes, 2 absent to consult with the attorney about our woods. Next item, with our community development money, we had like $40,000 unappropriated. I would like the council to consider putting $5,000 of that towards EMT training. John Hayes is effective today. He's done with his book. His training is a $2,500 online class. I looked at those classes. They're still available from the state of Utah. They are accredited, excuse me, with the state of Oregon. I would like to have the council consider putting up out of the community development fund a $5,000 amount, so we could hopefully get 2 more EMTs trained for our city. I understand there's grants out there for this training, but we as a city don't get to apply for them. It usually goes through either the ambulance department or Weaver County, and being that we do have this, I think this would be a great way for our community development fund to be spent by building our community from the inside. Councilor Berkeley.
Are there any candidates? that can raise their hand or say that they'd like to-
I spoke with John today and I told him about what my hope was that we could do. And he asked the same thing, and I didn't want to put anything out into the community before. Again, don't put anything out there until you don't have something. I said we had like $40,000 that was not appropriate for anything, so. It's not that we don't have the money, and I think this would be great to encourage our community to develop. Our community, which that's what the money was given to us for, was developing our community. Madam Clerk.
Just so everybody's clear, though, it only pays for tuition. It doesn't, it's not going to pay for the certifications and the extra stuff. It is literally just for school. And if they go through the same program that John's going through, they can share the same equipment. So that saves a little bit of money. But this at least says you can take the class, not take the certifications, which Mike Carroll would find to pay for certifications, maybe out of their own association fund.
This is the schooling is the largest part. On their website for the total package, schooling, training, or like Chris was saying, I think it's like $3,200, but there's $500 for a mannequin. That if you don't return it, you don't get your $500 back. If we can get 2 more people, somebody doesn't return it, it'll be covered, but again, it's at council discretion if you would like to move forward. Councilor Berkeley.
They do services here for the community here. As opposed to some people have gotten their training. and, left.
When I did the training, a part of it was an unwritten policy that you would spend 1 year with you. I mean, yet we can put in any stipulation on it that we want. To hold them to it, what's, I mean, if you don't stick around for a year, you gotta pay $2,500 back, then how do you access that money? You're gonna spend more money trying to recoup that money. All we can do is, see what we can do. Council Burton. Motion made by Councilor Burbidge, second by Councilor Catmull to allocate $5,000 from community development to EMT training. Open for discussion. I just realized I can access the mirror to see the people behind me right here. No further discussion. Councilor Burbidge, how do you vote? Councilor Catmull.
Aye.
Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Thank you, council. I'm sure the ambulance is going to be ecstatic about the opportunity to fund 2 people to do training. We are at resolution 2305. Is that the correct resolution number?
That's not even 2305.
Transfer to water reserve fund. Is that the-
2304.
Yeah, the agenda shows different. The previous was 2303, this is 04, the next is 05, but the agenda shows different.
Got it. We're a number ahead. I see that. Thank you. Okay, so it's resolution 2304.
Well, you have 22.4. For the previous, I put that in there for the previous year for a reminder. So 2304 resolution to transfer funds back to the water reserve. Whereas resolution 22-4 approved the transfer of $65,973.02 to pay RNG contractors, and whereas those funds are to be repaid to the water reserve fund upon payment from FEMA/OEM, Oregon Emergency Management. And whereas the city has been repaid by FEMA and Oregon Emergency Management, the funds for PW 43, also known as Bridge Creek Waterline Crossing. Whereas repayment schedule is 75% of the cost incurred, and whereas Bridge Creek Waterline Project total cost was $86,865.52, and whereas the reimbursement for PW 43 Bridge Creek Waterline Crossing totaled $56,439.57. Now therefore, be it resolved by the city council of the city of Mitchell, Oregon as follows. That Mitchell City Council authorizes $56,439.57 repayment to the Water Reserve Fund. Resolved this by the City Council of this 21st day of March 2023.
So that's what FEMA's giving us for the water, 75%.
It's
But
not
you're also keeping it open because
right because
Brian working.
Yeah.
Working the organization, yeah.
and it's not exactly 75%. They just go 75.
Better than what we have, but still, we're still gonna work, the court will work on recouping more of the money, so.
I'd like to change that motion.
Councilor Ferguson,
Second that motion.
motion made by Councilor Burbidge, seconded by Councilor Ferguson to accept the resolution 2304 as read. Open for discussion. No discussion, Councilor Rhoda Bennett, how do you vote? Councilor Catmull, Councilor Ferguson. Aye. Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Thank you, council, for ayes, 2 absent, to approve resolution 2304. On to resolution 2305. Transfer ARPA funds.
City of Mitchell Resolution 2305, a resolution to transfer funds from LGIP to the general fund, whereas the City of Mitchell adopted a resolution declaring a local state of emergency from COVID-19 virus March 25th, 2020, and whereas the City of Mitchell received 2 tranches of American Rescue Act funds, and whereas the second tranche received was in the amount of $13,437.96, and whereas the city finds it necessary to move the ARPA funds from the local government investment pool to Mid-Oregon Credit Union, and whereas the city allocated $8,806 to the water fund, and whereas the city allocated $4,631.96 to the purchase of computers and accessories, and whereas the city finds it necessary for the purchases and use in the water fund to be transferred. Whereas now therefore be resolved by the City Council of the City of Mitchell, Oregon as follows, that the Mitchell City Council authorizes $13,437.96 transfer funds to Mid-Oregon Credit Union, resolved by the City Council this 21st day of March 2023.
Councilor Ferguson.
To make a motion to pass City of Mitchell Resolution number 22-05.
Thank you, Councilor Ferguson. Councilor Burbank.
I'd like to
Councilor Cook made, or Councilor Ferguson made a motion, Councilor Burbank seconded, accepting resolution 2305. Open for discussion. No discussion, Councilor Burbank, how do you vote? Councilor Catmull. Councilor Ferguson. Aye. Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Thank you, council, for ayes, 2 absent, to approve resolution 2306. Approved budget calendar.
Oh, 5.
That one too. 2305 for the record. Calendar in the packet. Everybody can swipe through it or something. This is pretty well outline what we have to do to be compliant with state budget law. Correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Would you like it in Spanish? Here.
Okay, well, if council has looked at it, has knowledge of it, we need a motion to approve it, and that's our time frame to get our budget done. Councilor Burbank.
I would like to make a motion to set their budget meeting. And not the
Budget calendar.
Councilor Ferguson.
Second that motion.
Councilor Burbank made the motion, Councilor Ferguson seconded the motion to accept our budget calendar as presented. Open for discussion. No discussion, Councilor Burbank, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Catmull. Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Thank you, council, for ayes 2 absent to approve the budget calendar as presented. Now, the last, appointments, we can do the budget committee appointments for appointments, right? Got it. Ordinances and resolutions, we did, right?
Wait, what? No, we need to appoint the,
I'll send you that under appointments.
oh,
Or is that appointments? as in-
well, okay, I'm sorry, this is our first time with our new agenda, so, okay, I guess it's under appointments.
Ordinance resolutions, we're good. Public hearings, we don't. Appointments, I would like to appoint with council needs to approve the appointments, right? With council approval, budget committee appointments, Ron Verbabanek, Kaylee Ferguson, Timmy Hoffman, and Michael. Were you able to?
I did not get a chance to.
So Ron Verbabanek and Kaylee Ferguson. Right? I would like to have the council consider their budget committee appointments.
May I be
Madam Clerk.
also appointed as budget officer?
That's the first meeting we do.
Did you learn that today?
Mhm.
Okay,
No, I know.
are you sure? I thought,
They always. appoint
because when I asked her today, she says you have to do it in a regular meeting.
Former mayor, you.
It's, I recall we appointed the budget officer at a budget meeting, but I don't know that, I mean.
So why, because if I'm not,
For us to look backwards and what we've done in the past.
if I'm not appointed right now, that means I'm not working on the budget.
Okay,
Yes.
so. I would. Council needs.
You can do it again at the first meeting, but at least you're covered this way.
You're recognized as working in budget as.
Budget officer.
I'm so sorry.
I don't trust anything.
So. I would like to make the, have the council consider Ron Verbabanek, Kaylee Ferguson as budget committee appointments. And the city clerk, Krista Miller, as budget officer for budget year,
Fiscal year.
fiscal year 23-24. Councilor Verbabanek.
And Kaylee Ferguson to be on the budget. For 23-24.
Councilor Ferguson.
Second that one.
Thank you. Councilor Verbabanek made the motion. Councilor Ferguson seconded the motion for budget committee members Ron Verbabanek, Kay Ferguson to be appointed, and the city clerk Chris Miller to be budget officer for 23-24 fiscal year. Any open for discussion? No discussion. Councilor Verbabanek, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Kettle, Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook.
Aye.
Thank you. Council has approved the appointments, budget committee and budget officer as set forth.
I just want to make a comment real quick. I know, I'm just.
Adam,
I did check to see the, if it was okay, if husband-wife relationships were okay, and it is, so it actually in the budget law, just in case anybody's wondering.
in case that was ever a question's been
Yep.
answered. Thank you. We're at councilor comments. Councilors would like to make a comment. You have 2 minutes. Would any councilors like to make a comment? Yeah, let me get my clock going. Well, I just. Oh. It does look just like.
I hope.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Cook.
But since you brought this out, if you brought 2 copies out. Page 5, personnel rules, number E, exempt employees. Exempt employees are defined by the Fair Labor Standards Act, and as such do not receive overtime or commissary time, comp pay. Generally, exempt employees have managerial, administrative, or professional responsibilities to the city. Does that qualify as Krista? Isn't she administrative?
Is that at will? No, you are,
I'm not exempt.
no,
I'm appointed by council. It's not exactly at will employment because you have due process. You have a 14th Amendment right to work for a government body. So it's not like somebody that's working at a gas station that is at will employment. It has different rules.
Okay, I guess you want to agree, your position was managerial, administrative, all that. I'm fine with that.
City clerks,
What's it?
yeah, she's in her job. Is that our employee handbook you're reading from?
Yeah,
Right, but it has other categories that we don't necessarily have positions for. It's like a basic handbook.
so, okay, so the definition of regular employee, regular part-time employee, probationary employee, temporary employee, exempt employee, and non-exempt. A volunteer, so you're not exempt.
Can we answer that afterwards? And,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Okay, I do have a comment, not as a counselor, as a mayor, but I just want to make the council aware that I'm being said, I have zero communication with our fire chief. He's not responding, he's not communicating with anybody. I'm going to draft a letter of expectation in conjunction with CIS. I will provide it to the council. It's not for approval or anything. It's just to let you know what myself as mayor wants to expect in a timely manner. And I'm hoping to get that done over the weekend. And it will be certified mail delivered to the fire chief. So he cannot say he did not get it. Because I've had zero communication, zero email contact. They're not doing their training. There's nothing coming from the fire department side, and we as a body need to make sure that we have a fire department, a functioning fire department. I know CIS is involved, but they're looking at July 1st. We need to enter the fire department. So be aware, you will be receiving a copy of the letter of expectation that will go out, and I will send him a certified letter. I will request a in-person meeting with him. Councilor Berger.
Question,
Mhm.
has there been all that approved that
Not that I know of. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Who would like to do Councilor Berger Band? Councilor Ferguson,
Second that motion.
Councilor Berger Band, open for discussion, no third discussion, Councilor Berger Band.
There is no discussion on the adjournment.
Councilor Ferguson.
Aye.
Councilor Cook, thank you, council. Thank you, everyone.
What time? What time?
Council, we are in adjournment at 8:50.